Good afternoon. This is the Tropical Depression Cristobal briefing from the 4 p.m. advisory today, Thursday, June 4th, from the National Weather Service Forecast Office, New Orleans, Baton Rouge. Really, there have been no significant changes today. Cristobal remains a tropical depression. It is forecast to drift around the Yucatan through tonight, not moving very much currently, but it is going to begin moving northward tomorrow and expected to regain tropical storm intensity as it moves through the Gulf over the weekend. Currently, the greatest threats are expected to be heavy rainfall and minor to moderate coastal flooding. Wind impacts are going to depend on the exact track, intensity, and structure of the storm as it approaches the coast. There is the potential the greatest wind impacts could be well removed from the center of the track, most likely on the east side, which you'll see here on the next slide, which is kind of where we're going to be if this track holds as far as where the center of the storm comes inland currently. And for the past couple days, really, we've been keeping the same track with a general landfall along the central Louisiana Gulf Coast late Sunday into early Monday. So as far as some of the details here, expected to remain near over the Yucatan through tonight, before beginning that northward movement towards the Gulf, the lower Gulf there tomorrow, regaining tropical storm intensity as it traverses the Gulf over the weekend, making landfall as a pretty potent tropical storm. And on this current forecast track, the likelihood of direct impacts from Cristobal continues to increase in our area. As far as this cone goes, I always like to remind you that it contains the probable path of the storm, but does not necessarily show the size of the storm. And also hazardous conditions can occur outside of the cone. And in the case of this type of storm, probably on the east side of the cone, there's going to be some substantial impacts as well. Now, as far as the threat levels, the increasing threat goes from the bottom of the screen to the top, from the gray and yellow shading up to the red and purple. You can see currently some of the moderate threats in this orange range are the storm surge. That'll be for areas, along the coast and also fronting the tidal lakes and all of those little water inlets that come off the lakes, the rivers, the bayous, the low-lying swamp, marsh areas. So be on the, be advised of that in those lowest areas that are typically flood outside the levee protection system. Rainfall and flash flooding is going to be a concern, along with river flooding with some of the extreme rainfall amounts that could occur. Also, the marine conditions offshore are going to be quite hazardous as well, with the building seas, waves, and the strong winds out there. And also, there is some potential as well for isolated tornadoes with these types of storms, as well as, the wind impacts, depending on, like I said earlier, the structure of the storm, the size, and where it makes landfall. As far as wind speed probabilities, this shows the sustained tropical storm force winds the probability of those have remained kind of steady over the last 6 hours or so. It's about a 20 to 30% chance of seeing these sustained tropical storm force winds across all points, roughly from the mouth of the Mississippi River to west of the Atchafalaya River, with a 10 to 20% chance of the tropical storm force winds at all other locations across southeast Louisiana and south Mississippi. Now, the earliest time of arrival for these tropical storm force winds is Saturday evening, but the most likely time of arrival will be Sunday during the day. So this is, the time frame when you want to, before this time is when you want to be wrapped up as far as any preparations that need to be made. As far as the expected storm total rainfall, don't focus on the exact amounts here. The area of heaviest rainfall could still shift and result in higher or lower amounts across southeast Louisiana and south Mississippi. This is the 5-day rainfall, basically from this evening, through Tuesday. Most of this rain is likely to occur Saturday night through Monday. Now, like I said, don't focus on exact amounts. This depicts rainfall amounts generally around 3 inches on some of the far western and northern areas to as much as 5 inches or greater along some of the coastal areas of Louisiana and Mississippi. And however, with these types of storms and the speed that's moving, which is not super fast, there'll likely be some areas that'll be at least double these amounts. So don't be surprised to end up seeing some areas that get over 10 inches of rainfall. So key takeaways, some reminders, what I covered here. Several rounds of potentially heavy rainfall are possible, with some of them occurring well ahead of the storm. Minor to moderate coastal flooding is possible. And sustained tropical storm force winds are possible, but specific impacts will greatly depend on the exact track, intensity, and structure of the storm. Forecast confidence currently is average in the potential for the heavy rainfall and the minor to moderate coastal flooding. Still some lower confidence as far as exactly where the tropical storm may make landfall and the extent of the specific wind impacts. Thank you for watching this briefing. As always, we remind you to follow us through our webpage at weather.gov/New Orleans. Also, our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channels and feeds with the handle NWS New Orleans. Other graphics and information you can find at www.hurricanes.gov, or this longer address here at the bottom is our tropical page from our office's webpage. Thanks again and have a great evening.